I remember the day when everything changed. It was quiet, too quiet. The sun was high in the sky and the land was dry. The rivers were empty. We hadn't seen rain for months, maybe even longer. People stopped talking to each other. The village wasn't the same anymore. Everyone blamed someone else for the drought, for the hungry days, for the sadness that hung over us like a cloud. But I still remember the sound of those drums. The sounds reminded me of those I always listened to during the Igwe festival in the palace of the Oba of Bini. It was Utete who found them. He was young, barely 15, but he had the spirit of someone much older. He always loved music. Even when the elders told him to stop playing, even when the drums were taken away because they thought it was bad luck, Utete couldn't stop. I would see him, sometimes, late at night, tapping his fingers on his legs or using sticks to beat out a rhythm on the ground. The sound was in him, and nothing could take it away. The day he returned from the forest is the day I'll never forget. He looked different somehow. His eyes were bright and he was carrying a drum. Not just any drum. No, this was old. Older than anyone in the village, even older than our elders. The surface of it looked like it was made from something strong, something ancient, with markings on the side that I couldn't understand. But the moment I saw it, I knew it was special. Utete told me that the drum was alive. It can talk, he said, almost whispering as if someone might overhear. It's not just for music, it speaks to the gods. I didn't believe him at first. But something about the way he said it made me curious. He said he found it hidden in the forest, under an old tree. No one ever went near because it was said to be cursed. But Utete wasn't afraid. He had dreamed about the drum for weeks. He told me that an ancestor spoke to him, told him where to find it. And now it was in his hands. He wanted to play it. He wanted the village to hear, but he knew what the elders would say. The elders had banned all music when the drought began. They thought it brought bad spirits. They thought the noise would drive away the rain. But Utete didn't listen to the elders. That night, when everyone was asleep, he walked into the middle of the village, right by the large baobab tree. I followed him quietly, watching from the shadows. At first, no one noticed. The night was still, the stars bright. Then he lifted the drum and began to play. The sound was soft at first, like a heartbeat. It pulsed through the air, steady and strong. I could feel it in my chest. Thump, thump, thump. It wasn't loud, but it traveled far. The rhythm was simple, but there was something about it that made me want to listen. I wasn't the only one. Slowly, people began to come out of their huts, drawn to the sound. At first, they were angry. I could see it on their faces. They didn't want to hear the drums. Not after everything we'd been through. But then, something strange happened. The more Utete played, the more the anger faded. It was like the drum was speaking to them, telling them something they couldn't ignore. Thump, thump, thump. The beat got faster and people started to move. Some swayed on their feet. Some tapped their hands against their legs. The rhythm took over, and before long, everyone was gathered around Utete listening. I can't explain what happened next. The clouds started to gather, slowly at first, like wisps of smoke creeping across the sky. Utete didn't stop playing. His eyes were closed, his hands moving like he wasn't in control anymore. The drum was speaking through him. The clouds grew thicker, darker, until they covered the stars. The first drop of rain fell with a quiet plop on the ground, then another, and another, until the sky opened up, and rain poured down on us like we hadn't seen in years. People shouted with joy, some crying, some laughing. The drought was over. The land would be saved. But it wasn't just the rain that changed us. It was the drum. After that night, the village came together again. People started talking to each other, working together to rebuild what the drought had broken. The drum became a symbol, not of bad luck, but of hope. It reminded us that we are all connected by the same rhythm, the same beat of life. And as long as we listen, we can always find a way forward. The beauty of the ancient Bini kingdom of Edo State, ruled by the wise Oba, still lingered in our hearts. We remembered the grandeur of its red earthen walls, the vibrant bronze artworks, and the palace where the Oba once led us with strength. It was the spirit of this ancient kingdom that lived on in the drum Utete found. Its rhythms were like the pulse of the kingdom itself, strong, proud, and filled with history. Utete still plays the drum sometimes, not every day, not even every week. But when the village needs to remember, when we need to come together, he brings it out. And the moment the first beat sounds, I can feel the power in it, the way it speaks to us, to something deep inside. I don't know if the drum really talks to the gods, but I do know this: when Utete plays it, the village listens. And in the end, maybe that's enough. And so, the talking drums became a part of our lives again, not as a story from the past, but as a living, breathing reminder of who we are and what we can do when we stand together, just like the ancient Bini people under the rule of their mighty Oba.